So we have a lot to talk about, boys and girls. Hello, how you doing? Hope you've been having a wonderful beginning of the weekend so far. Wonderful Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. So let's look at the charts real quick. Let's see what we're headed into. Right now, we should be getting in about 8 minutes the CPI report. We're going to see exactly how inflation has been doing. I'm sure we all know how inflation has been doing, right? We all feel it in our wallets, pockets, whatever you want to call it. So let's get into the price action real quick. We, of course, are looking into the futures right now. Allows us to see how we're probably going to open the markets, or rather how the markets are getting ready potentially to react to the CPI report. So the 1 minute, we're not getting anything all too special. Of course, as you understand, momentum kind of dies down and volatility really dies down right before the sort of event anticipated, and so by then you're gonna see probably that sort of flat movement, even if it does appear to be as if it's doing something. In all reality, it's moving within this sort of sideways band. So if you pay attention, we've been kind of moving sideways throughout the entirety of the pre-market. And so in the 5 minutes, the market looks a lot more bullish, arguably. It is sort of overturning and preparing to head upwards. There was some question about this gap that we've opened up yesterday throughout the session, and I was wondering about it, and I was kind of... I had a feeling this is exactly how it's going to work out, but I didn't want to say anything too prematurely, and that gap appeared to be just a hole in the data, so pretty much, as you can see, it was filled in. And there is no gap there to be filled, so no worries about it. We may as well remove that. And let's look at our price action so far. As you can see, we've been testing roughly at around 6,850, 6,848, 49 kind of, if you really want to be precise about the number. 5 minutes, we were saying, looks like it's headed upward, so it's not probably headed towards the gap. If anything, we're probably going to get entangled again within that 68.50, 68.48 area. Then on the 30 minutes, we can say we're bullish. I mean, we are above the 50 range. We've been moving it with these impulses that remain above the bullish, above the center line, keeping us in the bullish territory. It does appear to be, and it would be not completely abnormal to see that after a set of impulses, we're gonna find ourselves proceeding to the downwards. This may be just the beginning of the current impulse, which will lead to another retest of some of the levels we probably have right there. Potentially, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but give or take, of course, and on our way to that 68.50 area. Of course, if we're going to get entangled with it revolving around it, that there is a high probability we're going to hit that channel top as we're seeing. Although, remember, the channel is pointed to the downside right now, so it's not a good thing for the price action, for the bulls of the market, if you will. Then still results within us falling back to the channel and remaining within the framework of, even if we're going to get entangled and move somewhat sideways, even if we're going to finish the session today moving sideways alongside of this, maybe even if we're going to hit 6,904, which is, you can call it 6,900 flat with some volatility to that area that I'm pointing out at 6,904. But the overall result I'm assessing is going to be to the downside, and we see exactly what the market is saying based upon the momentum right now. So let's look at this. Right now, the momentum on the 45 minutes still appears to be somewhat bullish, so we are looking kind of the very same movement. It does amplify or reinforce the idea that I was just pointing out, that we will move upside, potentially retesting one of those levels, or within that vicinity we maybe actually be entangled within the lower level and then kicking up, here and there a couple of times, staying more on the lower band. Here we're becoming bullish on the 1 hour, but arguably the trend is already pointed to the downside, so I wouldn't trust that at face value. It looks like the trend is moving downward, so we're potentially looking at an entanglement, a retest of the levels. That does reaffirm what we're looking right here before the continuation to the move downside. Why do we think that? As you progress to the larger time frames, what you will find that we are actually in bearish territory, meaning the larger cyclicality is indicating that we are moving to the downside. Momentum is actually falling. One day we're actually tremendously bearish, although we are right above that 50 range. But if you can see, we have very clear divergence of the forces. Right now our bearish force, our D, is on top, is dominant, and so we are pointed downwards. Inevitably, that's just how the forces work, and what they represent. And once we penetrate that 50 area, of course, with both forces, it will be far more amplified and representative of a downtrend. If you look at it this way, in fact, it becomes a lot more clear that all along it was representing a downtrend. It's just not that clear when it's shrunken this way. That's why it's so important to double click here sometimes. Blow this up so you can see it very well. In fact, I would arguably say we're having some form of a funnel right here, moving right probably into that range before it continues a movement downwards. Why do we suspect a movement downwards? Well, pretty simple. Okay, let me just clean this up for a sec. Let's clean this up as well so it's not going to be in the way. I don't think we need this anymore. We can go into the weekly, as we can see. First of all, again, our daily, as we said, pointing to the downside, right? And our weekly is actually now have overturned, as I was saying it will. And, you know, yeah. one of those things that I was saying that you should pay attention to, which now highlights and emphasizes the curvature that the overall sort of trend is having, right? You can see we're moving inwards, and gradually, of course, not immediately, but that does highlight very much what I just was saying on the smaller time frames. This is very bearish, D dominant. Momentum is pointing to the downside over the longer period, and we are below the 50. Clear divergence moving downwards. In below that 20, of course, we enter oversold territory, which can mean two things. It can either mean that we are now flipping around and going to move to the upside, or more so, we are now just beginning the bearish wave. Now, if we will see on the monthly time frame the momentum is bullish, so it will be good to assess and will make sense to assess that what it is just merely a correction to the downside, and the movement happens to actually want to move to the upside and not downside. So this is merely a correction. This is a correction downwards within a movement to the upwards. Just pretty simple, right? I mean, again, we're basically reading whenever we progress on larger time frames from smaller time frames, we are almost looking in reverse. We're not zooming in, we're zooming out. Okay, so we got to keep that in mind. So this, what we're seeing here, is within the framework of the monthly. Of course, should make sense. You have 4 weeks, 4 candlesticks combined into single candlestick on the monthly. Make sense? Pretty simple, actually. Remember, charting made simple, right? Oh, skipped one. And so what were we seeing here, really? On the one hand, we are above the 80 range, which on the stochastic RSI symbolizes we are in overbought territory, arguably very bullish. But then again, what we are seeing is a convergence of the forces, and of course we are suspicious of it until we do reach that area of 80, which once we penetrate amplifies the downwards trend, right? Which, remember, it works the very same way if we were looking at the weekly and saying that is a smaller partition within the monthly, the same way the monthly is a smaller partition within the quarterly, right? So the very same idea. If we're going to see that the quarterly happens to be a lot more bearish than bullish, well, we're going to find we're about to get, by the way, it's 3:30 my time, should be 8:30 EST, East Coast, so we should be seeing very same thing. So we're moving towards a convergence and divergence on a quarterly, and of course the peak of the thing, we are actually below that 80 range on the half year, and on the yearly chart below, lo and behold, we're actually basically fighting that mid-range into becoming bearish, which all along we all know on the stochastic RSI, whenever the asset starts right here, its intention is to move downwards, and it's showing a downtrend. So I would be very suspicious of what we are seeing right now on the sort of daily behavior that's going to look a little bit bullish, but on the grand scheme of things, we are still in very much in bearish territory, and it's probably going to result in an overall downturn. I hope the sound is not bad. I've been working so very hard on trying to keep the sound tolerable and like not too loud or anything. I really do hope the sound is good. Hope I did not decrease it too much. Okay, let's fix that. Is that good? Is that, no, I think it's going into the red a little bit. Is that good? Yeah, no, still red. Okay, I don't know. Guys, don't hate on me. I am still, this is not a professional operation. I'm trying to get it to work, have a bunch of new hardware and whatnot. All thanks to Tom Nash, by the way. Salute you, brother. Thank you. Much love. Love. What else did I want to say? Of course, you know, I mean, as we're looking at the SPX, we're inherently looking at NASDAQ, we're inherently looking at the overall tech sector. Oh, and lo and behold, exactly what I said. Just as I said, we're going to be testing that level. Of course, I do have that tendency to draw things out. Okay, so here it is, that 6850. Here it is, exactly as I was expecting it to behave. And there we go. We just squeezed out that tiny bit of bullish momentum that we had. Let's go over the various time frames, see how correct was I. And of course, we're moving to the downside. Don't forget, we closed yesterday's markets, closed at, oh yeah, right, we can get rid of this and this, of course. That was pretty funny. This is a projection I made 2 days ago, actually, in the Academy meeting with my members. And then that was the price action yesterday. So as you can see, another one for me. Yay! So, yeah, of course, highly recommend you all join the community. You know what? Let me just move myself for a second before we continue. So there you go, boys and girls. You have the, that is the Patreon. As you can see, the address is right there, patreon.com/Greg_Ori_H, or you can just go to Google and look for Greg backspace Ori backspace H. Yeah, you'll find me. You'll find my Patreon. Of course, right, Patreon as well. Of course, certainly focus on the Patreon. So I highly recommend joining right now, because that, ignore these two tiers. You may as well pretend they're not there. Actually, in fact, I'm gonna remove them from access altogether soon. Those are just tiers that I give away for my members once they do sign up, and of course the prices are, in fact, I should make them even higher, so on purpose this way. The one tier that is, as you see, the recommended by the creator, right? I recommend this tier. Why? Because this tier right now is only $50 a month. If you do change the sticker, it will be even $20 discounted. I'm not sure. I don't remember if it's only the first month or the first year. I mean, I really don't remember. I'm not gonna tell you any lies. I think it decreases it to the first year, I think. So then monthly, basically, you end up paying $40 instead of $50. Why is that so important? You guys all join right now, because at the end of this month, this $50 tier will become $70, okay? A $70 tier. It is now currently 50% discounted. You're like, what, Greg, you just said it's going to go to 70. Right, because the month after that, at the end of the month after that, it will be going to $99. So basically, it is a gradual discount that sort of eats back, right? So right now, if you do join at these $40 or $50, you lock in that price and you'll stay in that price pretty much forever. About that $40, I'm not sure. It may change to $50 later down the line. And do not sign up through iOS, because they charge you 25% more. They literally take a commission on top of everything. So you know the prices you see here, and then on iOS you're getting like different prices. That is because of iOS. There's no trickery here or anything. That's iOS charging 25% more on top of my price, right? Just to kind of be clear about things. So yeah, that is the thing. Join in. You'll be able to then join our Discord. I completely forgot on what's going on with the Discord. People are probably going there bananas. I am so very busy. People will hate on me today for that. I apologize. So how's everybody doing there? Let's see. Let's move me back right there so I'm not in the way, boys and girls. Right, let's put me back right there where it needs to be. And okay, so you can see the Discord right there. This is just kind of the casual chat. Of course, we're talking about that. Which brings me, I have not looked at the numbers yet. Let's see what the numbers are saying. Let's see. So. Okay, we got. Okay, let me bring it in so you guys can see that as well. That is Forex Factory. Great website. So that is actually interesting. So month over month, we got a lower number. So it appears to be inflation is falling year over year. A lower number, even lower than anticipated. So these numbers are, well, that is actually interesting. So core, core gone up because the forecast was for it to, again, mixed results. So we're probably going to get a mixed market. So uncertainty probably will yield, as I said, some bullish momentum. Well, some positivity, basically decreasing inflation, or so it appears to be, will be good, or rather bullish. And then the core will be confusing them back because it's, on the other hand, the core is higher, right? And arguably we're going to get some bullish momentum. We're going to get some sort of stifled bullish momentum, and then mostly sideways, which I think very much goes in line with what I was expecting. So let's see how our continuous contract is playing out so far. I mean, again, we've seen some of that bullish momentum playing out so far. Let's look at the 5 minutes. 5 minutes appears to be curving inwards. So as we're getting closer to market open, it appears to be more and more bearish. This is still bullish. The 30 minutes is still bullish, so arguably that will be, of course, in confluence, in agreement with the regular contract. So we're still looking at some bullish momentum, which highlights and agrees exactly with what I said earlier, potentially looking at the retest of that 6,900 handle. And then we're looking at the 45 minutes. Of course, we see confirmation on that. We're going to look at the hourly. Hourly is in agreement on the grand scheme of things, because we are seeing the penetration of the bullish momentum over the bearish momentum, although our overall direction is downwards. Temporarily, we're experiencing some bullish momentum, which then will have potentially another crossover here and a continuation to the downside. Why we expect that? Because we still are in bearish territory. Basically, what this really is, to conclude the whole thing, this is a bullish correction in a bearish movement, right? So this entire move is bearish. We are still in bearish territory, but this is a corrective movement within that overall bearish sentiment. Now, why are we thinking again, this may indicate a reversal in the beginning of a bullish movement? That could be one thing. On the other hand, the problem is, again, you remember that your 4-hour falls into the framework of your daily, not the other way around. So what are we really seeing? We really are seeing that the movement is downwards. So in turn, it appears to want to then later persist and be bearish more than bullish. And temporarily, we're having a correction which will narrow down the difference between these two lines. And in essence, will bring them a little bit closer together. And so it's not going to look so severe. It's going to look less severe. It is still a downtrend, just a less severe one. Okay, I hope that is clear. Much red, just not yet. Today a little green, next week many red. Okay, very simple. That's the way you can actually look, the current price action and look forward. And that is not even the entirety of the tool set and skill set that I'm using or teaching. This is just kind of mostly the basics. And I highly do recommend. I actually now have three different people wondering about the academy, the one-on-one spot, the one spot I have in the one-on-one academy, where, if you already know, you've been here before, it is a one-on-one academy where I meet with you, depending on your schedule, or the schedule we set up rather. In the Discord, I share my screen, I show you everything, I teach you the tools. Of course, you do get various perks such as a lifetime membership in the community and all sorts of wonderful things. And once you do graduate from the academy, you get to join 2 meetings every week. Normally, of course, I'm still human. Sometimes there are exceptions, but normally there are 2 meetings. On top of that, there's another meeting for everyone, including the Patreons and all sorts of wonderful stuff. So no matter what, you gain quite a bit from this package, if you will. And it is also, by the way, 60% discounted right now. That one-on-one academy is 60% discounted on its price. So definitely don't miss out on that one. And yes, eventually it will be brought up. I'm still considering whether it's going to happen within several months from now that the hike will happen, or towards the end of the year. So be attentive to that. And you don't want to miss out on the prices right now. Definitely join in. So what else? What else do I want to say? I think not much. I think that, of course, like I said, we are seeing mostly this bullish price action. I'll probably come out with another video later today giving everyone an update, sort of a conclusion of the week, if I'll have time for it. But I think even what we've done here today right now is good enough. Of course, definitely like, subscribe, comment in the comments if you have anything to say about what I shared here. I would appreciate a like I said, you know, it's free after all. Subscribe so you'll always be informed. Join my community. That's it. You will be in the know. You'll not be surprised and caught off guard with your pants down when such events happen, and you will understand what is happening, why it's happening, or at least have some idea and something to anchor yourself to. Otherwise, you're basically floating in space and just relying on your hopes and gut feelings. Yeah, if you have a gut feeling, take it to the bathroom. Might pass. You know? Alright. Love you all. You have a wonderful weekend in case I don't make another video or don't see you on a live or something, because I do all of these wonderful things. Or if I'll not hang out in the community, I do have a little bit of a busy weekend. Just in case, like I said, see you all. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.